Ime, you said coming into the series that you'd be ready for the zone. Felt like you guys jumped right on it when the Heat went to it. You had the sets ready to go. Like, what do you think just led to so much success against that? Was the preparation and video you watched there?
Yeah, we knew they're a team that runs quite a bit of zone. Didn't get to it in the first game. Not surprised, but they upped their physicality and didn't need to get to it tonight. They tried it, and we've had some good sets and success against it later in the season, being that we saw it quite a bit early in the season. So we're ready for that.
Ime, how did you like your team's response tonight, and how good was it to have Marcus and Al back in the lineup with you?
Yeah, it was great to have the vets back, obviously, calming presence there. Didn't get off to our best start, a little slow to start, but fought right back into it. And after, I guess, the first 5 or 6 minutes, we held them down scoring-wise. But overall, it was good overall effort. Bounced back. I felt we didn't play as poorly as last game showed. We went, like I said, we won 3 quarters and had a very bad third quarter that was hard to overcome, but we saw a lot of positives and areas we could attack, and so it helped to have those 2 back for sure.
Ime, tonight you guys, according to Second Spectrum tracking data, switched on 33 pick and rolls, allowed only 15 points, caused 2 turnovers. Obviously, Al Horford and Marcus Smart returning makes a significant difference in your ability to switch. I guess what's your reaction to hearing those type of numbers going into the game plan that you had with the willingness to switch?
Yeah, it's what we've done all year to some extent. One of the better switching teams that we switched a lot, and having certain defenders back obviously helped that, aided that tonight. But we saw Hero get downhill a little bit too much, Butler as well last game, and wanted to have bodies in front of bodies. And what we showed them at halftime was good physicality, good pickup points, and good attention to detail on certain guys. Aggressive reds, aggressive switches, and they pretty much saw a body every time they came off and didn't get a lot of clean shots. So we're happy with what we did tonight.
Ime, why do you think your team is so good coming off of losses?
I think we were upset with how that third quarter went, and specifically how we got out toughed. It wasn't a lot of, like I said, a lot of schemes or defensive or offensive changes. They just came out and kind of punked us in that third quarter, and so we looked at the 3 quarters and how well we had done, winning those quarters, and knew if we just matched their physicality, we could be better. And so kind of reminded us of Milwaukee the first game a little bit, and didn't want to get caught off guard again, but shouldn't take one of those and, opportunity that we had. But I think our guys have bounced back really well all year, especially in the second half of the year. Haven't lost a lot of 2 games in a row in a while, and I think obviously adding Marcus and Al back gave us a little boost as far as that. But guys have pride, and looked at a golden opportunity that we kind of lost and thought we could do much better, and did that tonight.
Game really turned around, Ime, in the first quarter when you went to Grant in that 4-out lineup, kept him in the rest of the first half. What did you see working there, and why was it able to be so successful in the course of the rest of the game?
Yeah, he spaced the floor well. We had got to attack some matchups that we wanted to and space out Adebayo and Tucker and some of those guys. And so obviously with Rob in there, he has his things that he does well, but he has some limitations as well as far as space in the court. And, we saw success against Milwaukee and Brooklyn doing that with the Al and Grant lineups where they can space it out and we can attack multiple ways. And so, create a lot of open shots, a lot of open threes, and he got going, but also opened up the lanes for our drivers.
I feel like it's been a while since we've heard you say that you guys got punked, because we heard that a lot earlier in the first half of the season. What did you say to the team after? Like, how did you challenge them? Grant was saying before that you weren't afraid to challenge them. So how did that work tonight?
Yeah, it was evident. I mean, after the game one, that third quarter, 39-14, 8 of our 16 turnovers, them getting a lot of offensive rebounds, and Butler getting to the free throw line. It was pretty evident that they were the more physical, aggressive team. And we said this: look at the 3 quarters and be optimistic by what we did there. But if a team is just going to come out and out hustle you, it wasn't like I said, a lot of things schematically that they did different. We can match that intensity. We pride ourselves on being one of the tougher teams, and so we knew if we matched that, we'd be in good shape tonight. So not much needed to be said. Everybody saw it.
Marcus Smart almost had a triple-double tonight, but even beyond the box score, how can you describe what he gave you guys?
Yeah, as always, he sets the tone. Defensive player of the year for a reason. Ability to switch on to bigger bodies, and just another good defender to throw at Butler and Adebayo and some of those guys, and not have to worry about them trying to pick on certain matchups. And so he brings the physicality every night, kind of gets everybody else in line, and adding Al back there as well as another versatile guy. So wasn't surprising to see how well we guarded with our guys back.
After Strus hit that three with Robert kind of too far from him, you immediately called a timeout. It was 18-8. What did you say in that timeout that you can, obviously without the four-letter words, but what did you say and how did that change the game, that sequence?
Well, it's wake up. You know, we were slow to react for the first few shots, switching too low on their shooters, and that's something we didn't do a great job of last game. So we understand who they are and who their scorers are and who their shooters are and how we need to switch accordingly and according to their personnel. And so just simple message that we need to wake up and react a little bit quicker. Al gave up one as well, and Jalen was too low on one, so cleaned that up pretty quickly and finished off the quarter well.
Ime, going back to Marcus and actually kind of going into the box score, he had the 5 threes, he had a couple of key steals there in the third, and then all the assists. When you look at those numbers, what are you most impressed by in terms of him and coming off this injury?
I always look at his assists and turnovers. He's had quite a few, like tonight, a 12-1 turnover game, kind of dictating everything out there and getting us into things. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not the type of coach that wants to call a play every time down. I leave it in his hands, and he usually makes the right decision, understands who to get going and who's the hot guys are, and he did a great job of that tonight. Playing against the closeouts, they're a heavy load team that, you know, flies out on shooters, and he did a great job driving, making the extra pass, and getting guys easy shots. Thank you.
Why such a dramatic difference between the two games?
You know, I don't have that answer right now, but you definitely have to credit Boston. You know, it's not that they just came in with great urgency and physicality. They did have that for sure. They also played well. They played really well on both ends. We know what they're capable of defensively. You know, they've done this to some very good offenses. I'm sure they were not happy about us, you know, putting up 118, you know, in game one. They came out and were very disruptive and got us out of our normal rhythm and flow. And then the shot making on the other end, you know, was very tough to overcome.
Is there an update on PJ, and is there a level of concern?
I don't have an update right now. You know, if you ask him, he says he's good to go. We'll just have to see tomorrow. I'll talk to the trainers.
When you have a game like this where the scoreboard is as lopsided as it is, do you leave the court thinking that there are things that you'll be able to take from this and learn from and move forward as a group?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of the process in the playoffs. Look, you get to this point, you know, of the conference finals, you just have very good teams. You have, you know, teams without, you know, many weaknesses. It's great competition. This only counts as one. You know, that's what the, you know, experienced, you know, players in the locker room and staff, you know, understand. We don't like it, you know, and they played extremely well. You have two really good teams, and you know, we just have to figure some things out.
So for as great as Jimmy has been in these playoffs, when he's kind of trying to will it himself like he was in the third quarter, is that a good outcome for the offense? Is that what you want the offense to look like?
Well, you know, he's got to do whatever, you know, we need, and that's going to be like A to Z, you know, on the menu. But you know, we're facing a very good defense, you know, so we have to do things, you know, with great detail, with purpose, and, you know, they can flatten you out just like we can flatten teams out. You know, this is the thing about competition. You know, we have two really good defensive teams. You know, we can, when we're at our best, we can make, you know, them, you know, look a certain way, and they definitely made us look a certain way tonight. You know, we have to, you know, figure some things out where we can get to what we want to get to, even though they're trying to take away, you know, what we want to get to.
Coach, what do you think was the biggest difference in the first half in sense of just their approach, Boston's approach that created that huge lead?
It's not just the approach; they played well, you know. And I wouldn't just say that it was because they had great desperation and urgency. You know, it wasn't a matter of us not wanting or us not on edge. We really got outplayed in a lot of areas. You know, defensively, the shot making. You know. That got us out of what we normally do. And that's what, you know, shot making can do. If you start the game 9 of 11 for 3, that'll get you out of your habits, you know, pretty quickly. And then we didn't respond, you know, well on the other end either. You know, during those important stretches when it was like 8, 10 points. And then, you know, frustration set in from that point, playing poorly on both ends. And again, you just have to credit Boston. They played very, very well tonight.
Eric, both Jimmy this week and the broadcast tonight said Kyle is close to returning. I know you had no update yesterday. Is it realistic to expect that?
Yeah, I don't. All right.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Eric, practice?
No.
First, Bam, players often talk about you throw one away, you move forward. It's still first team to 4 victories. Is that easier said than done to just move past something like this?
Nah. They came out and hit us in the mouth, and we didn't know how to respond.
Gabe, what was their switching able to do? What kind of effect did it have on your offense that didn't happen in game 1?
I think we changed the way we played. Obviously, they're a very effective defensive team. They flattened us out. You know, the ball got stagnant. We didn't move it as much, and we saw the result of that when they went on their run.
For either of you guys, Marcus Smart on the stat sheet had a huge night, but just what was his impact out there, just beyond the numbers, to have him back in the game?
I think he gave him a lot of confidence. He gave him a lot of confidence. I mean, obviously defensively he did what he did, and they packed the paint. He made some plays offensively, and as the game went on, he got more comfortable and more comfortable and started making some shots, and we saw him fill it up in the second half.
Any other questions?
For both Gabe and Bam, because the team has obviously played well all postseason, does that make it easier to have confidence even after a lopsided home loss?
I mean, we've lost a game in the playoffs before. I mean, it's a loss, whether you lose by 1 or by 20. So it's recoup, go back to the drawing board, and get ready for game 3.
Piggyback on what he said is first to 4. I mean, obviously, we got to go back, watch film, and see what we did wrong, see the mistakes we made, and how we can bounce back.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Black Lives Matter, people.
Game 1, you were standing on the floor at the end of the bench for what looked like most of the game. Did you pretty much know you were coming back at that point?
I was. It was a very high hope that I could get back. You know, my body just, as long as my body kept responding the right way for me, and it did. You know, I got to get into shoot around, test it out, and it felt good. It felt good that day as well, but you know, better safe than sorry. I didn't really get a chance to try it out that morning before that game 1, so we didn't want to risk it, and it wasn't feeling too well. But you know, I was just kept telling myself, you know, game 2 you're playing. Okay, how hurt you are, you got to give it a shot. And you know, we were very aggressive with treatment. 2-a-days, you know, I was in the pool doing pool workouts, and just everything I could to speed this recovery up.
Marcus, how difficult was it to sit and watch what happened in game 1? And what was your mindset coming into this one? Looked like you were aggressive pretty much on both ends of the floor out there tonight.
Yeah, it was a lot for me. You know, I was very frustrated with that because I couldn't get out there and help my teammates. You know, I had to sit there and watch Us struggle the way we did, and knowing that I probably could have helped was very painful. But at the same time, it was good for us. It was good for our team and our guys to play through some more adversity, and that's not having two of your starters, and you got to find a way. And, we led 3 quarters, and they had that one big quarter, and that was a teaching moment for us. And then for me today, it was just, just come out, be as aggressive as you can, and not let the same mistake happen. We playing against a really, 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 really good Miami team. And, when you make mistakes, they make you pay for it. And we got to limit those mistakes. And that was my mindset. Come in, get Jason, Jalen the ball, Al, get them their shots open, and then, take what the defense gives you.
Hey, Marcus. Tonight you defended Jimmy Butler for 31 possessions and held him to only 9 points, according to Second Spectrum tracking data. What are the challenges in defending a guy like Butler, and also what is your assessment of your individual play with that matchup tonight?
It's tough. Jimmy's a warrior, man. Jimmy's been doing this for a long time. He understands the game. He understands, his strengths. He understands his team's strengths. So when you got a guy who has an IQ like Jimmy, it's always going to be a tough matchup. It's a good one. I love going up against Jimmy anytime I can. As a defensive player, as a competitor, he's going to make you work and he's going to make you better. So, we knew it was tough. For me, my assignment was just to make everything tough for him. We knew he was going to hit some shots. If he did, he had to work for him. And that's just the way I came in. And, it was a full team effort. It wasn't just me. I had some help from everybody. We all threw some guys at him, and we all had a chance. And that's what it comes down to, we all pros, and we're all good. We're going to make tough shots. We just want to make it as hard as possible for them.
Marcus, it's because of injuries and all that stuff. You guys haven't had the opportunity to have you and Rob and Al kind of at full strength, have that defense that you've had from the regular season. How good did it feel to just be out there and know that you had those guys behind you and you had that regular season #1 defense kind of intact in this game?
Oh, it's felt amazing. The beauty about this team is we got to play through adversity early on in the season with the injuries and stuff like that, COVID. And we got to see what we were really made of. And, we got to learn from it. So for us, it was always next man up. So, but it did feel good to have that unit out there that we know, when we're out there, what we can do. And it showed tonight.
In game 1, especially in that third quarter, there was just a ton of turnovers real fast, where every time you guys tried to move the ball, it's like a little lax and they just pounce on it. And tonight, there were a lot of those moments where they almost turned you guys over, but you held strong, you dove and you moved it. Like, what was that little extra edge that you tried to bring tonight to keep the ball?
Just what I always do, being the energy guy that I am, being the point guard that I am. I take a lot of pressure off our guys, so they don't have to try to force it as much. So they, they could be who they are, and that always helps. And tonight, that was the main goal. We can't let them out hustle us, beat us to loose balls, offensive rebounds where they killed us, and transition and turnover. So we cut those down, and our defense do what it does. So we just wanted to come in and beat a harder playing team tonight, and I think we did that.
I know you spent a long time trying to get the Defensive Player of the Year award. You also spent a long time trying to be the point guard of this team. To come back tonight after the turnovers you guys had the other night, have 12 assists and 1 turnover, and settle you guys down, like you said, during the game. How much pride do you take in, your ability to kind of run the team the way you've always said you had the ability to? A
lot of pride. That's what I've been doing my whole career. That's what I got drafted here to do. And, I just waited my turn, and I'm blessed to be in the situation I am, to have the opportunity to go out and show what I can do. And, I think everybody in the organization in the world is seeing what I can do at that point guard position.
Hey, Marcus, I know you spoke on it just a second ago, but that third quarter tonight, after what happened a couple nights ago, you broke a couple ankles there in that third quarter. You hit a couple of threes. What kind of locked in for you to make sure that you guys held that lead tonight?
Just be who I am. Come out and be that leader. Stay on top of my guys. It was a little bit tougher in game 1 to do it because you weren't out there. And as a player, sometimes when you're on the court and the guys or who's not on the court trying to tell you, you just kind of really don't want to hear it. You're listening, but it's tough, and it's a different type of energy and feel when, You know, when I'm out there on the court, able to bark out the commands and really get into my guys and get them motivated. Because now it's like, okay, you know, if he's going to go out there and do it, I don't want to be the guy to slack, and so I got to come with it. And that's the beauty of having me on the court, to do that, to settle us down, to get us what we need to do, and make plays for my teammates.
How does Al Horford change the way that you guys defend, and what was the difference that he brought between game one and game two?
His energy. I mean, Al is going to be, what, he 35, 36, and he's still moving like he's 22. You know, that's been an advantage for us. You know, he's an athletic, long guy who can get out and switch onto those smaller, quicker guards. And it really, you know, keeps our defense compact, and it's not really a mismatch that teams can really try to go after, especially with me and Al on the floor. And that's big for us. Al has always been big for it. He's a great leader. He's a great vet. And that's what we expect from Al.
So you take a lot of hits on the court, and you're often on the court. When did you learn that you could absorb all that? You know, what were the circumstances that led you to know you can be a tough player on the court?
I'm the youngest of 4 boys. My whole life, you got to fight. You got to be tough, or you might as well keep it pushing. So my whole life is how I've been. You know, I'm from Texas, where football is, you know, prominent for us. I played football, and, you know, you built that, you know. And like I said, being the youngest, you ain't got no choice but to be tough, and that's just how it was. Thank you, guys.
Jimmy, what made such a dramatic difference between games 1 and 2? To you, what was the biggest difference?
They made shots that they missed last game. That's just what it is. It's going to be hard to beat anybody when they shoot 50% from the field and 50% from the three. They were the more physical team overall, and they got one on the road.
Jimmy, obviously in your playoff career, you've been through wins and losses of all kinds. A game like this, the guys, Gabe and Bam just said, it's one. You know, you kind of, how do you just move on from it? You toss out the tape, or you kind of just, or do you try to learn as much as you can from it before you move on to game 3?
I mean, yeah, you do got to move on. I don't like to move on from this because it has to hurt. They tried to embarrass us. They did embarrass us. So I think we got to realize that. Use it as fuel, whatever you want to say, but realize that the game can get out of hand whenever you're playing against a really good team like them that can score the ball and get stops. So overall, we just have to be better. We got a tough job to do to go over there and win, but if they did it, we can do it as well.
Jimmy, obviously you're scoring in this series, but you're having to work really hard to get those numbers. As a team, what is not there for you guys right now offensively?
I mean, I think I got to do a better job of getting everybody else involved, if I'm being brutally honest. I got to find that fine medium, that fine line in between when to be aggressive and when to make sure that I can get guys open. And, you know, I got to basically do Kyle's job and make sure guys are in spots where they can be comfortable and be the most successful. That's on me. I don't think that's on Spo. I don't think that's on Bam. I think it's my job because I got the ball a lot of the times to make sure that everybody's comfortable and getting the shots that they need to have.
Because we've just been kind of saying that you've been doing both roles for most of the playoffs because Kyle's been out. Do you think you got away from that tonight?
Yeah, I think I got a bit selfish on the offensive end. And I got to look to use my teammates. They've been there for me all year long, and I got to get back to that because whenever they're scoring, whenever they're aggressive, we're a much better team.
Jimmy, you had mentioned after, to piggyback on that, you had mentioned after games 3 and 4 in Philly that you wanted to pass more. Are they taking away your playmaking angles the same way Philly was, or is Boston doing something different?
Nah, I just got to set better screens, attack more, touch the paint, and look to kick the ball out, even sometimes whenever I do have a layup, just because that is the right basketball play, and somebody's more than often going to be open. That's on me, and I'll watch the film, and I promise you I will figure it out, but I'll get these guys open.
Jimmy, this has always been a confident group since you've been here, but when you do get embarrassed like this in a game, how confident are you that this group, with the injuries that you are dealing with right now, can respond the way you want moving forward?
I look at it as it can't get too much worse. You know, they whipped our tail on our home floor. I guess if they do it on their home floor, it's supposed to happen, but I don't see us doing that again. I mean, the first half has been brutal for us in both of these games. We just gotta come out and play harder from the jump and be ready, because they'll be throwing some haymakers in the first half.
Obviously, they shot lights out, but were there times tonight where your defense as a group bothered you in terms of giving Boston too much airspace on threes and other shots?
Yeah, I mean, they got to the free throw line. Yup. They made threes. They got to the paint, got layups. They got out in transition. They got offensive rebounds. They was doing everything that we pride ourselves on, actually. But that's what you get whenever you're playing against a really good team. They've been playing that way for a very long time. So I think overall, we've seen it before. We damn sure saw it tonight. So if we don't want it to happen again, we better fix it.
Hey, Jimmy, so tonight the Celtics with Horford and Smart back on the floor were switching a lot more than they did in Game 1. Was that something that you think disrupted you guys' offense, or was it more about not getting enough consistent stops on defense?
For sure, all about stops. How many times we shoot the ball? Shot the ball more than they did. We just didn't make shots. It's part of the game, but we damn sure didn't guard anybody. And when we don't do that, that's a trend all year long. When we're not making shots, we're not guarding anybody. So we need to fix that once again. When we worry about defense first, the offense will come.
Jimmy, Marcus just spoke in the other room, and speaking is a sign of respect towards you. He called you a warrior, said he loves to play against you anytime he can. For him to come out after missing the first game with a bad foot and have the impact that he did, what does that say about him?
Look, he's key to what they do over there on both sides of the floor, actually, and for sure when he's making shots. But as a defensive player of the year, night in, night out, taking that matchup and being able to play on both sides of the ball, that's crucial for them. He was a big part of them winning this game tonight, along with Al Horford. Obviously, JT and JB do what they do, but they came out and willed that organization, that team, to a dub. So you got to respect him and what he does.
Did you get a chance to talk to PJ, and are you worried he might be out for a little bit?
I did. I think he'll be all right. You know, Marcus said I'm a warrior, so is he. So, you know, if he's not ready to go, though, everybody else has to be ready to go. And those are some even bigger shoes to have to fill, because he does it on the defensive end. We're capable of it, though.
All right, Jimmy, thank you.
Hey, Al, just what has this been like for you since you got here to Miami? How much of an emotional roller coaster ride, and how good was it to get out there tonight and do what you guys did?
Yeah, definitely. You know, a lot going on, but you know, at the end of the day, I was just I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to be able to play tonight and get back with the team. You know, this was a big game for us.
Can you just kind of walk us through what the kind of crazy 48 hours it seems like not thinking you'd be able to, obviously sitting out a game and then being uncertain about this game, and how you found out you'd be able to play and stuff like that?
Yeah, you know, just a lot of uncertainty. You know, felt a little off, and you know, felt like I needed to get tested. And you know, Tuesday we got the news, and then subsequently got tested again and again, and was able to get cleared, and just definitely a lot of emotions. And through all of it, I just, you know, try to stay locked in, doing my part as best that I could, and I'm happy that I was able to, you know, be out there with the guys tonight.
Al, it's been a while since you, Rob, Smart, have been out there at full strength, you know, carrying over that defense from the regular season. How did it feel to have that all back intact tonight?
It felt good. You know, that's what our team's about. You know, we've been talking about this, but since January, when we really started getting at it and kind of creating that identity and how we wanted to play, that's who we've been. And you know, we understood it was an important game tonight, they obviously, beat us that game one, and for us it was just important to come out and get this win at all costs.
Al, how difficult, frustrating was it to watch game one by yourself? And then was it almost a blessing in disguise, though, that you got a couple extra days of rest?
It was difficult. Just being there with the guys, supporting them, not being able to be there with them. Obviously they have a great environment here, and that was the hardest part for me. Not being able to be there for the guys, when they needed me. And I'm just really grateful. I thank God. I'm really grateful that I was able to get this opportunity so quickly and be able to be here for game two.
Al, you weren't here a couple of years ago when this team had trouble against the zone, and you see it tonight, you jump right on it, and you guys really tore it apart. I'm sure there's a lot of prep that went into that, but just what do you think was key to breaking apart the zone when you saw it there in the first quarter?
Miami does a good job with it, and Coach Udoka just kept it very simple for us, and he wanted us to go about it a certain way and play with pace, and that's what we did. Our guys kept making the right reads. Jason, Jalen, Marcus, just kind of attacking downhill and making plays for us.
What changed there at the middle of the first quarter when Grant came in and you guys went from you and Rob both out there to one of you the rest of the first half? I think you guys outscored them by 30 and really took over. What did you see change?
I'm not sure. I mean, I just think we kind of settled in. They came out and they were hitting some tough shots, and we just stayed the course, just continued to play. But yeah, Grant came in there, gave us a huge boost. He's been playing so great, and Grant is the kind of guy that we're asking a lot of him, putting him in all different situations, all different positions, and he answers the call every time. Doesn't matter if he has to guard. Was it Drew Holiday in the last series, Giannis in this series, Jimmy, Bam, he's all over the place, and he's been really good for us.
Al, just at what point today did you kind of rejoin the team, and what was everyone's reaction to when that did happen?
Well, it was on the bus that I got to see them, and just happiness. Jalen, Jason, everybody was just really excited, and we were all just kind of like, let's get it going. We're missing D. White, and obviously he's handling business, bigger things than what we're experiencing right now. So we had to hold it down for him tonight.
Al, you mentioned how you guys are putting Grant Williams and asking a lot of him, a lot of different responsibilities. You've played in the playoffs a bunch for years, going back to your time in Atlanta. How much more complicated in the postseason is it from a game preparation standpoint to get ready using so many different defensive schemes like you guys do, depending on different situations in a game, compared to how it was before when you were younger?
It's definitely a challenge, but I think Coach Udoka, has done a good job with us all year, really, just kind of establishing an identity, who we want to be, what we're about, and we're going out there and we're doing it, and we're enjoying doing it. And guys, we've done it so much that it's kind of, it's muscle memory at this point. We're getting out there, we're doing it, we're executing, and everybody's buying into it.
Final questions for Al?
Thanks, Eileen. Al, what was it like watching the third quarter of game one, and what kind of things were you saying by yourself in a dark room?
Oh man, that was hard. That definitely was. That was tough. That was tough to watch. Just not being there with the guys, and you got to give Miami credit. They were just they were really good, and they kind of took over in that quarter, and it was tough. Any time you want to be there for your guys, and it was hard, but. I felt like, we were able to learn from it and respond, and we did a good job of that tonight.
Thank you, Al.
All right, thank you.
What did you like about your team tonight, the response that it had? Also, the return of Marcus and Al, and just kind of what you guys were able to accomplish tonight?
I was proud of the way that, we responded. Last game was tough. just kind of how we lost, and and myself included, how I played in that third quarter. So I was excited for how we were going to just bounce back and respond, regardless of how if we won or lost, just how we played. We just played a lot better. And yeah, I mean, obviously missing D White, congrats to him and his family. But when we have Smart and Al back, we're just that much more bigger and better defensively. So obviously we miss those guys when they're not playing, but it was great to have them back today.
Jason, you mentioned having Marcus and Al back and how much bigger your defense is. You guys switched on 33 pick and rolls tonight and allowed only 15 points. Going into the game, was the game plan to switch more often, and what is your assessment of the way you guys did defend on those switches tonight?
Yeah, I think we would, made some adjustments. We followed the game plan better today, communicated a lot better, and I think we would just had a better presence about ourselves. They kicked our butt last game, and, we just wanted to respond and play better, on both ends of the floor, and I think we did that.
Hey, Jason. When Marcus has the ball in his hands, especially in situations like the third quarter, just how much calmer do you guys play?
Yeah, obviously when Smart's out there, just another guy to, handle the ball under pressure and, get us organized and get us in position and, where we need to be.
Jason, when did you find out that Al was going to be able to go? Was it when he walked on the bus? What's that?
Yeah, I've seen that Instagram post.
Oh, okay.
When he was flexing, they said he was available. So, I was excited.
What is it like for you guys to not, as his teammates going through that, not knowing if he's going to be around, waiting to find out about tests, and how do you prepare whether he's in or out? And a starter and a huge part of your team is in or out.
It's tough. Obviously, I'm just, dealing with COVID in general. First of all, you want to make sure that he's feeling all right, health-wise. That's most important. And then, obviously, that's tough, when he's not there or anybody, because, it's so unpredictable, and it's kind of just unfortunate, when, somebody tests positive or something like that. But, glad he's feeling all right, glad he's back healthy, and obviously we needed him.
In that third quarter in game one, they just got they turned you guys over a ton. And tonight, a lot of the times that they would pick you off, you just either held onto the ball and kept it and moved it, or guys would dive to the floor. What was that little difference that allowed you guys to just hold onto the ball and keep it moving?
Just being more aware, had too many turnovers last game. And I think just, being aware of that coming into the night, taking care of the ball a lot better. Yeah.
Jason, all that talk coming in about the zone from 2 years ago, and you guys just seemed so well prepared for it, and you jumped all over it there. What was the preparation like for that zone, and what allowed you guys to be so successful when they broke it out?
Just not be stagnant. I think, the idea of zone can make you shoot a lot of jump shots and, cause you to be stagnant. That's what zone wants you to do. So, taking open shots but still, finding ways to penetrate and make the right play and find open man.
Jason, got a Zoom question back here from Chris Gasper.
Hey, Jason, I was just curious, when you picked up that second foul in the first quarter and you guys were down, just how big was JB in terms of his shot making and decision making during that time period? And then when you come back in, you guys have a double-digit lead.
Yeah, those guys played great in that first quarter, especially, the second half of that first quarter. And that's just what we do. We pick up for one another, regardless if somebody's out or foul trouble, everybody can make the right play. And, obviously, JB can do it all. So, when he has the ball, more often than not, great things are going to happen. And, he was just real decisive and getting to his spots and just making the right play, obviously drawing a lot of attention out there. He did a great job making the right reads.
Jason, in the third quarter, Grant had a drive. He hit the deck pretty hard, but you came up to him, and it seemed like you guys were laughing about something. Were you? What was that exchange like? And what have you seen from Grant in those moments?
What we said to each other, I got to keep that between us. But obviously, Grant he just came a long way from his first year. In that situation, I think we got a steal or something, and they kicked it ahead to him. And, he's worked on his game, and he's, developed into somebody that we believe and trust in to, catch it at half court. He sees the opening, take it to the hole, make the right play. And that's what he did.
Jason, I remember early second quarter, you looked like you kind of bumped knees. How are you there?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, you guys have always, throughout the playoffs, responded from a loss with a win. I mean, and that was kind of the way it was during the regular season. How much confidence do you have that Ime or the energy is going to be different after a loss, that it just seems like you guys are a different team when you guys are hitting the mouth like that?
Yeah, I think that's since I've been in the NBA, the difference between, the years that we've been really good and not so good, just how you respond. You're not going to win every game you play. They're really good players and really talented teams in the NBA. But I think the sign of a good team is how you respond after losses, especially tough ones. It just kind of shows the character of the group. And we've done a really good job, most of the year responding after tough losses and situations.